We recognize the halo, the cross, the fish. They are universal symbols of faith. But look closer. That fish aligns perfectly with the stars of the Pisces constellation. It is an artifact of our oldest science. If you ask modern theologians about this, they will issue a strict warning. They call it astrolatry, the heretical worship of stars, and point to the Ten Commandments to shut down the conversation. There is a very specific reason for that defensiveness. For nearly 2 millennia, institutional churches have worked hard to convince the public that Jesus is the literal Son of God. Admitting he might have originally been conceived as the sun, the physical star at the center of our solar system, unravels a massive historical pivot. Exploring this cosmic clock does not erase faith. It uncovers a suppressed planetary inheritance, returning us to a time when looking at the sky was the only way to understand our place in the universe. To read this clock, you have to look at the Earth's third and slowest motion. We spin on an axis, we orbit the sun, and we experience equinoctial precession. The gravity of the sun and moon tugs up the Earth's equator. This creates a slow, circular wobble at the poles. Like a spinning top losing momentum, one complete rotation of this wobble takes nearly 26,000 years. This diagram maps out that exact 25,771-year cycle. Look at the colored zodiac ring. Because of the Earth's wobble, the position of the sun on the spring equinox drifts backward, slowly tracing a massive circle through those 12 constellations. In this framework, these 2,150-year increments serve as distinct epochs, mapping the evolution of human belief against the slow, predictable movement of the stars. Step back to ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, and you find that early religion was incredibly practical. It was a utilitarian system designed to keep people alive. People living along the Tigris and the Nile relied entirely on annual floods to water their crops. Tracking the stars was the only way to predict when that water would arrive. The deities they prayed to, like Ra in Egypt or Sin in Babylon, were literal celestial bodies. When the star Sirius, personified as the goddess Sopdet, rose in the morning sky, the Egyptians knew the Nile was about to flood. That star's arrival marked the new agricultural year and the return of fertile soil. In this agrarian reality, God meant the observable, predictable order of the cosmos. Divinity was simply the sky providing exactly what humanity needed to survive. Over centuries, these raw celestial forces were packaged into human forms. By the time the Roman mystery cults emerged, the stars had become literal avatars walking the earth. Look at Mithraism. Their central icon is the Tauroctony, a young god slaying a bull. Check the perimeter. Those are the signs of the zodiac. This carving is a coded map of the night sky. This red-lined stone relief reveals the underlying geometry. Mithras sits directly at the center of a celestial cross.
He represents the focal point of the precessional wobble, moving the universe forward. This side-by-side comparison shows how the Romans built their temples, the Mithraea, to match. The vaulted, cave-like ceiling aligns perfectly with the sky revolving around the ecliptic pole. When Christianity began to sweep through the Roman Empire, it did not invent a theology from scratch. It adopted this exact astronomical avatar model and gave it a new name. During the time the Gospel authors were writing, the equinox was shifting out of the constellation of the Ram and into the constellation of the Fishes. The Age of Aries was ending. The Age of Pisces was beginning. Look at this celestial diagram from the year 21 AD. The path of the sun and the celestial equator intersect perfectly within the constellation of Pisces. This exact astronomical alignment forms the Chi-Rho cross, the original symbol of Christianity. The stories were written to fit the sky. Jesus became the avatar of the new Piscean age. He is the fisherman. He feeds the masses with 2 fish. He leads 12 disciples, mirroring the sun moving through the 12 signs of the zodiac. But keeping this knowledge public was dangerous for a growing empire. In the 4th century, Emperor Constantine institutionalized the faith. The Church took these complex astronomical allegories and enforced them as literal historical facts. This institutional shift from cosmic allegory to historical literalism obscured the original astral context. By the end of the transition, the story of the sun had become a static dogma.
separate from the shifting cycles of the sun that first inspired it. For 2,000 years, the Age of Pisces demanded that exact kind of faith. It was an era defined by institutional belief and strict adherence to dogma. But the cosmic clock is still ticking. This star map shows the position of the sun on the spring equinox in 2021. It has drifted through Pisces and sits exactly at the threshold of Aquarius. This astronomical transition mirrors a suggested paradigm shift in our cultural values, moving from a centuries-long emphasis on mystical belief toward a priority on empirical knowledge and the integration of science with spiritual wisdom. We can no longer afford to rely on ancient myths taken literally. We have to trade that dogma for a clear, empirical understanding of our planetary future. The ancient Romans had a very specific definition for an Aquarian. It meant a water engineer. Today, as polar ice melts and global sea levels rise, that definition carries a heavy physical reality. Stabilizing the climate requires water engineering on a scale human beings have barely begun to comprehend. We will have to actively manage the world's oceans and freshwater systems to repair the damage of the last century. Building a durable moral vision for the next 2 millennia requires integrating this ancient spiritual respect for the Earth with the hard scientific engineering needed to sustain it.